Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my prediction for Bellator 126, Shlemenko versus Halsey, which happens on September 26th. Overall, I like this card actually. The main card's pretty strong. You got the middleweight title fight with Halsey and Shlemenko. Good lightweight fight between Howard and Freire. Good fight between two prospects and Meller. If you call them, Meller and Jenkins. Two Bellator vets fighting in Richman West. Prelims aren't too bad. Some recognizable names. Decent fights here. Ryan Martinez and Rossborough could be a fun heavyweight fight. Or a gas fest. Girtz, he's fought in Bellator before. He's not too bad. Campos versus Estevan Payan's not a bad fight. Stuart Austin, decent undefeated heavyweight. Who else? Clifford Starks, he's not a bad middleweight. LaRue Burley, pretty good prospect as well. So, yeah, not a bad card for sure. Let's get started. So in the main event for the Bellator middleweight title, we have Alexander Shlemenko versus Brandon Halsey. Well, Shlemenko has a lot more experience than Brandon Halsey. He has a 50-8 record, 29 wins by KO or TKO, 8 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by submission. He's 30 years old, trains out of Russ Fighters. I think he's like the head guy there with the likes of like Koreshkov and whatnot. He is the Bellator middleweight champion. Strong kickboxer, super unorthodox. He's got to throw spinning strikes. He regularly uses the spinning back fist. Actually, the other thing I like about Shlemenko is he has really strong strikes to the body. He has good punches to the body, but he also kicks to the body a lot as well. He's got a really strong chin too. This guy's really hard to wobble. He keeps pushing forward, high pressure, always pushing forward and whatnot. His cardio is good too. He's gone 5 rounds a couple times actually, with the likes of Hector Lombard, Brett Cooper, and his grappling is improving, but it's still the weakest aspect of his game. Brandon Halsey, 7-0 undefeated record, 1 win by TKO, 3 wins by sub. He's 28 years old, trains out of HB Ultimate with the likes of Michael Bisping and Rob McCullough. He is an NCAA Division I All-American wrestler. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is actually solid. In his last fight, he beat Brett Cooper actually, mounted him, and on the scramble, he got an armbar, belly down armbar if I'm not mistaken. His top control is good as well, expected from a wrestler. Stand up is improving. So this is an interesting fight. Shlemenko did recently lose to Tito Ortiz. Obviously the size difference was there, but I think there's something to be said there because Brandon Halsey is not a small middleweight, and Alexander Shlemenko is a small middleweight. And Halsey is also a wrestler, so that kind of gives me reason to think that Halsey could consistently get takedowns on Shlemenko. On the feet, it's all Shlemenko. I don't know how long Halsey is going to try and keep the fight on the feet, to be perfectly honest with you. The winner of this fight gets Melvin Manoff. I think what people want to see and what Bellator will like is Alexander Shlemenko winning this one for obvious reasons. Stylistically, that's a great fight, Shlemenko-Manoff. I'm going to say it right now, though. I think Brandon Halsey wins this one. I think he'll use his superior wrestling and grappling to consistently take down Shlemenko. I can't see Halsey keeping the fight standing for long periods of time. I can see Shlemenko scrambling out of positions, but Halsey's just a really good wrestler. He can stay on top. He can work in the scramble as well. He'll be the bigger fighter here. I think just stylistically, despite the experience factor here, I think Brandon Halsey is stylistically not a good matchup for Shlemenko. And I'm going to even go so far as to say I think Brandon Halsey is one of the few blue chip prospects coming out of middleweight. There's a lot of prospects in middleweight, but there's not a lot of blue chip prospects in that division. I think Brandon Halsey is one of them. I've always been pretty high on the guy. If you heard some of my past predictions for Bellator and fights that Halsey's been in, picked him to beat Cooper, and he did. Brandon Halsey for the win here, using superior wrestling and grappling. Next fight, I thought Marcin fights Patricky Pitbull Freire. All these are actually pretty good matchups. Like, I see avenues for a lot of these guys to win, to be honest with you. Marcin 19-3 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 11 wins by sub. He's only 22 years old on a 4-fight win streak. He's got some strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. In particular, his foot and leg locks are really good. He'll even go so far as like pull guard. I mean, with the way he got Derek Anderson down in his last fight, is he just did this flying guard pull, managed to get guard, then locked into triangle choke right after that. Howard's stand-up, it's the weakest aspect of his game, but it is actually improving. It's still the weakest aspect of his game, and he knows it. Patricky Pitbull Freire, 13-5 record, 9 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. 28 years old on a 3-fight win streak. Definitely turned it around. He was actually going through a really bad losing streak against the likes of Michael Chandler, Lloyd Woodard, and Derek Anderson. You know, but he's since turned it around with some good wins over like Campos, Rickles. That was a really good win. He trains out at the Team Noguera, the Pitbull brothers. He's one of the Pitbull brothers, obviously. His stand-up's good. He can be something of a brawler, though. He is heavy-handed. His wrestling's actually a bit underrated. You know, his takedown defense isn't that bad. And his offensive wrestling isn't that bad either. I've seen him take guys down. And he actually has a pretty underrated ground game as well. I'm going with Patricky Pitbull Freire here. I think Marcin is going to have a hard time taking down Freire. And obviously that's the area that Howard is most likely going to win. Freire on the stand-up should be able to beat Howard. Heavy-handed guy, but knocking dudes out lately as well. Patricky Pitbull, I think that he'll keep the fight standing and win with superior stand-up. Next fight, I thought Bubba Jenkins fights Thiago Meller. Bubba Jenkins, 7-1 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He's 26 years old on a 3-fight win streak. He is a strong wrestler. He has all the accolades, you know, NCAA, Division I, all of those accolades. His ground and pound's not too bad. He's improving his striking. He's a good athlete. One of his biggest problems in the past was his pacing. Recently he fought Puppies Martinez and showed a lot better pacing. So that's a really good sign for him. Thiago Meller, 19-5 record, so he's a lot more experience than Bubba Jenkins. 5 wins by KO or TKO, 13 wins by sub. He's on a 5-fight win streak. His opening losses are to pretty good competition. Jose Aldo, as far as the losses go, his only loss to Jose Aldo, Rafael dos Anjos, all guys that either currently fight in the UFC or have previously fought in the UFC. Aaron Riley, Justin Buchholz, and Anton Kuvanen. Stand-up's average, you know, it's improving. Like, he actually has some good knees. You know, it's not really that too much of a liability. You know, I was watching Anton Kuvanen fight, and I saw the Clay French fight. That was the last fight from Meller from XFC International against Clay French. He was getting hit in the stand-up, but he managed to actually win with a TKO via ground and pound. Stand-up defense could probably use some work. One thing about Meller, though, that was kind of surprising, I don't know if it will apply here against a wrestler like Jenkins, but he actually showed some pretty good takedown defense. Clay French couldn't take him down. Anton Kovanin really couldn't take him down. The only time he actually was on his back was because he went for his guillotine. And he has a really strong guillotine. Most of his submission wins actually are by guillotine. And he has a strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game. This is an interesting matchup because Bubba Jenkins has more hype. Meller has more experience and has a, in my opinion, a style that could stifle Bubba Jenkins, to be perfectly honest with you. Jenkins obviously is strong suit is wrestling, but he's got to watch out for the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game of Meller, and especially watch out for the guillotines. I've actually seen Bubba Jenkins dive into guillotines in the past. I don't know. I know his pacing has been fixed. He could be a bit reckless. And Meller has just such a good guillotine and just such a good ground game overall. And to stand up, I can't really say Bubba Jenkins has better stand-up per se. He's a better athlete than Meller, but I don't know if he has a better stand-up per se. I don't know if Bubba Jenkins can just use his wrestling to win this fight, because Meller, like I said, is really good on the ground, especially with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm going to go against I've been going against the grain here, actually, especially with that Shlemenko fight, too. I'm going to keep going against the grain here, actually. I usually don't do that too much with Bellator. I know the popular picks, like for the main event, would probably be Shlemenko, you know? I just don't think Halsey's a good stylistic matchup for him. Same here. I know the popular pick is going to be Bubba Jenkins. He's the more hyped prospect. But I think Meller just has a lot more experience, and stylistically, it's actually a pretty tough matchup for Jenkins. So I'm going to go against the grain here. Thiago Meller. When I say Meller, to win this one. Next fight after that, Mike Richman fights Ed West. Ed West, 18-8 record, 1 win by KO, 9 wins by sub. He's 30 years old. He's only won 1 of his last 4, which, ironically, Mike Richman's in that same boat. He's only won 1 of his last 4. Trains out of Apex MMA with the likes of like George Roop. He has kind of like a Taekwondo style stand-up where he uses a lot of movement, uses a lot of kicks. But he is actually a pretty good wrestler, too. Mike Richman, 16-5 record, 7 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by sub. 29 years old on a 2-fight losing streak. Most recently losing to Goichi Yamauchi. He's only won 1 of his last 4 fights. His stand-up's good, but his jiu-jitsu skills aren't too bad. I'm going to go with Ed West here, actually, because I've seen a similar fighter in the past, well, a somewhat similar fighter in the past, in Desmond Green, being able to kind of stifle Mike Richman, utilizing a lot of movement, pot shotting. It's kind of Ed West's style. I'm not even a big fan of Ed West. It's just kind of his style. He'll move around a lot, collect points, kick. You know, he a lot of times he like appears busy when he's not, but like he'll go in and out, move a lot, kick, get out. Mike Richman has shown against like the Desmond Green fight, the guy that uses that style has been able to stifle Richman and rack up the points. So I'm going to go with Ed West to win that one. Okay, on to the prelims, which will be on Spike.com. Ryan Martinez fights Nick Rossborough. Rossborough has a 24-18 record with 1 draw, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 14 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 7 losses by sub. He's 32 years old. He's pretty tall for the weight class. He's 6'5". Ryan Martinez is only 5'11". Rossborough, average stand-up. He most recently fought Rafael Butler. He did hit him clean. I know he's fought guys like Lawrence Larkin as well and some other guys. And his ground game's not too bad. He's got most of his wins by submission. Rossborough's cardio is not very good. Ryan Martinez, 10-4 record, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by KO or TKO. But that's not to say he has a bad chin. The guys he's lost to, LaVar Johnson managed to crack him. Vitaly Minikov actually won by ground and pound, but he didn't really like. It was more just ground and pound. I don't know how to say it, but it wasn't really like he was chin checked per se. And I forgot what his other loss was. That's Minikov by TKO. I think they're actually more TKO losses than KO victories, except maybe against LaVar Johnson. Anyways, he's 27 years old. He's only 5'11", but he like just makes like 265. I mean, the guy. I always say this about Ryan Martinez. Okay, he's on a 2-fight losing streak right now to Vitaly Minikov and LaVar Johnson. I always say this about Ryan Martinez though. He looks like he's totally out of shape. He's small. He's short for the weight class. But the fact of the matter is, his cardio actually isn't. His cardio isn't that bad, despite the fact that he looks out of shape. But it's just like Mark Hunt, but not like in a sense where like he looks like he's kind of out of shape, but it's just his build. He's just a short, stocky guy. It's not fat. It's just like big boned. You know, I don't know how else to say it. It's not like Big Country Roy Nelson where you can see this belly, you know. You can kind of see a belly in Martinez, but like, you know, I don't think he can cut to 205. I think he's like a legit heavyweight. And like I said, his cardio is actually not that bad. He can actually sustain a pretty good offense throughout 3 rounds. With that said, he's a good wrestler actually, with some solid takedown defense and good offensive wrestling. Stand-up's not too bad, and he does hit hard. I've actually always been relatively high on Ryan Martinez. I think he'll get the win here against Nick Rossborough, actually. Next fight after that, Brandon Girtz fights Benny Madrid. I actually don't know much about Benny Madrid, but I have seen Girtz fight and lose to like Derek Anderson. Got kneed. Just highlight real KO for Derek Anderson. But Girtz has a 10-4 record, 7 wins by sub, 3 wins by decision. Has 2 losses by KO or TKO. He's 29 years old. He has some solid wrestling and some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. With Madrid, 7-1 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. 34 years old. Simply because I don't know much about Madrid, I'll go Brandon Girtz to win this one. Like I said, you know, he's a solid fighter actually. You know, like, he does have a good grappling game. Next fight after that, Derek Campos fights Estevan Payan. Payan, UFC veteran, 15-6 record with 1 no contest, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 4 losses by KO or TKO. He's 32 years old. Training out of Arizona Combat Sports with along the likes of guys like Clifford Starks. You know, he's a good wrestler. His stand-up's average. He's not like terrible on the stand-up. He's been chin-checked against likes of like Robbie Peralta, TKO'd him. Alex White managed to knock him out. Campos, 14-4 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. 26 years old. Training out of Meller MMA with the likes of Will Campuzano, Edwin Figueroa. I want to say Jinwoo Freire trains out of there as well, if I'm not mistaken. Campos is just an all-around fighter. He's not. He doesn't have a liability in any particular aspect of MMA. But I wouldn't say he's great in any one aspect of MMA. His stand-up solid. He's not a bad wrestler. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills are solid as well. You know, they're kind of similar in a sense. You know, Payan's pretty game. He's probably both of them actually fought some pretty good level of competition. Campos fought like guys like Patricky Pitbull. Payan's fought guys in the UFC like Jeremy Stevens, Robbie Peralta, Alex White, and whatnot. But see, Payan's fought the better level of competition, but it's not like Campos has fought like bad competition or anything like that. He's fought like some pretty decent guys. Tough one for me to call actually, but I'm gonna go Derek Campos. You know, he's a well-rounded fighter. Next fight, that Stuart Austin fights Dan Charles. Dan Charles, 7-2 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. Has his 2 losses by KO or TKO. Heavyweights, he's like 6'2", Stuart Austin 6'3". Dan Charles is on a 2-fight losing streak. I think one of those losses on the losing streak was to Mighty Mo in Bellator, if I'm not mistaken. He trains out of Arizona Combat Sports. Like I said, like Clifford trains out of there. Same with the 7 Payan. Stuart Austin, 8-0 undefeated record. 4 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He's also 6'3". He fought in Bellator recently and got the win. I want to say by TKO, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm going to go with the undefeated prospect and Stuart Austin to win that one. Next fight, that Michael Parker fights Joe Taimanglo. I actually don't know much about Michael Parker. I know he has an 11-6 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 6 wins by sub. He's 34 years old. Trains out of Apex MMA with the likes of George Roop and Ed West. Joe Taimanglo. Is it Minglo or Monglo? I think it's Minglo, actually. Taimanglo, 19-6 record with one draw, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 11 wins by sub. That's just 2 losses by KO or TKO and 2 losses by sub. 30 years old, 2-fight losing streak. Stand-up's average. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is actually not too bad. One thing about Joe Taimanglo, though, his cardio's like crap, man. This guy, I think one of the problems is he puts a lot into his stand-up. He's the type to kind of throw everything into his stand-up. He's not the most efficient fighter. Unfortunately, I just don't know anything about Michael Parker. At least with Taimanglo, I kind of know what he's like. So I go to Joe Taimanglo to win that one. Just on the basis of I know more about Taimanglo than Parker. Next fight, that Jacob Ortiz fights Clifford Starks. Jacob Ortiz, 13-4 record, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. That's his 2 losses by KO or TKO. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, one of those TKO losses was to Lima, Douglas Lima, if I'm not mistaken. He trains out of Power MMA. Guys like Bader train out of there, Dalloway. Clifford Starks, 9-2 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 33 years old, training out of Arizona Combat Sports. He's a good wrestler. He actually has some, I want to say he has some wrestling accolades out of ASU, if I'm not mistaken. And stand-up's actually improving. He actually doesn't have that bad of stand-up. Fought in the UFC before. He lost to Ed Herman. He's doing pretty well in that fight. Had a long layoff, and then he lost to Yoel Romero and got cut after that. But I always thought he was a solid middleweight, actually, and just an overall solid fighter. He's kind of big for the weight class, too. So I'm going to go with Clifford Starks to win that one. And finally, Raymond Pina fights LaRue Burley. Both these guys are 4-0 undefeated. Pina has 2 wins by TKO and 1 win by sub. He's only 23 years old. LaRue Burley, 4-0 undefeated record, 2 wins by TKO, 2 wins by decision. 30 years old. He has that notable win over Bubba Jenkins. I made sure to actually re-watch that fight to see what because I kind of forgot what he has. But he has a football background. He doesn't have a martial arts background or any type of combat sports background. But he did show some pretty decent stand-up. He's athletic. And he was good in the scrambles. He'd give up his back a lot in order to get back to his feet, which isn't like the best idea. But he was good at not staying down, at least. I gotta go with LaRue Burley to win that one. Okay, to recap on the main card, Brandon Halsey becoming the new middleweight champion over Alexander Shlemenko. Patricky Pitbull Freire over Marcin. Thiago Meller over Bubba Jenkins. And Ed West beating Mike Richman. On the prelims, Ryan Martinez beating Nick Rossborough. Brandon Girtz over Benny Madrid. Derek Campos beating Estevan Payan. Stuart Austin over Dan Charles. Joe Taimanglo over Michael Parker. Clifford Starks beating Jacob Ortiz, and LaRue Burley beating Raymond Pina. So that's it for my predictions for Bellator 126, Shlemenko versus Halsey. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for You. Thank you guys very much.